greater the spy, the bigger the lie. We are the Spy-Fi guys, and this is Argylle. Welcome to the Spy-Fi guys, where we cover spy facts, spy fiction, and everything in between. I'm Christian.
And I'm Zach.
And today we've got a dead drop for you. We are covering the Matthew Vaughn film Argylle, starring Henry Cavill.
And a bunch of other people.
Yep. Although, funnily enough, he is probably the least featured member of the cast here.
Even though he gets top billing. Yeah, so the only thing I really knew about this movie was I saw the trailer like 6 times before various movies.
Yeah, that is the joke on the internet, that this trailer has been been out in front of everything for forever now. See, seeing this trailer, because I had heard about it for a long time before I even saw trailers. I knew that Henry Cavill was going to be in the spy movie, so of course that, piqued my attention, because, he is oft rumored to be in the running for Bond. So just to see what he'd like it in a spy movie, I was curious.
Is it safe to say that he's out of the running for now?
I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? No one knows. No one knows what the Broccolis are going to decide to do, or what Eon's going to decide to do. But when I first saw this trailer, I think I told you this. I had this theory that this was going to be a reverse Spies in Disguise, that the cat was Henry Cavill somehow.
I don't recall that.
Yeah, okay. Well, I've told someone that, but
in a movie like this where there's a lot of twists, it's not totally out of left field.
Let's get to our summaries.
Okay, so here, as always, is our poetry synopses. And here come the spoilers. Okay, spoilers start right here, right now. You have been warned. There's a lot to spoil in this movie. Here come the spoilers, and they're not going to stop. So, with that in mind, here is our haiku, which I feel encapsulates the movie more than any other haiku I've ever written. So here we go.
Oh boy.
A lonely writer. Few too many twists and turns. Cat in a backpack.
All right. I'll go with it.
And here comes our haiku. There once was an amnesiac named Kyle, who dreamed up an agent Argylle. She's no longer Ellie, but her cat is still Alfie. She had what it took the whole while.
The Ellie-Alfie rhyme was a bit of a stretch, but I'll give it to you.
It always is. Here is the real IMDb plot summary. A reclusive author who writes espionage novels about a secret agent and a global spy syndicate realizes the plot of the new book she's writing starts to mirror real-world events in real time. I actually didn't really get the impression that that was what was happening in the movie, but okay.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, yeah, it's not quite that things are mirrored in real time, let's just say.
No, I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we start off, we meet Agent Argylle, played by Henry Cavill, who works with this other guy named Wyatt, played by John Cena. They're going after this assassin named Lagrange, who's played by Dua Lipa, who is apparently some sort of singer or something. I'm not hip up on my singers.
Right.
They dance. It reveals that she knows who he is, and so does everyone in the club. They have a nice big car chase. Argylle and Wyatt chase after her, and she kills their other ally, Kira, by shooting her in the chest.
Right.
But John Cena, Wyatt, manages to pull Lagrange off her motorcycle. She's escaping. They interrogate her, find out that she works for the same people they do, the Directorate.
Which means they're dirty, which is just like Alias. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of would you say it's safe to say it's a spy movie cliche that the people they've been working for are the bad guys the whole time?
It doesn't happen as often as you might think.
That's true. We've covered a lot of spy movies on this podcast, and it hasn't happened that much.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember The Bourne Identity? Because I feel like this movie is just The Bourne Identity.
It is in certain ways, yeah, sure. And that is a case where, yes, okay, that's the other big one, is when Treadstone not being, rosy clean, shall we say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so Lagrange commits suicide, Argylle and Wyatt cut their comms, and this is all revealed to be a book reading by author Ellie Conway, who has written 4 Argylle novels. She is a waitress who started writing after she had a big skinny accident.
One thing this movie does really well is setups and payoffs. I know we talked about this before. There's a lot of stuff that gets set up, and I mean, I didn't see anything that didn't get paid off, so I like that.
Other than hints that the cat might be Henry Cavill.
I mean, you're gonna have to point those hints out because I sure
I'm
didn't see
kidding.
them. Hmm.
But yeah, so she goes back home. She's trying to write her ending for her book for book 5, and she's struggling to come up with an end. We also meet her cat Alfie, the aforementioned cat, who's a Scottish fold cat.
Christian, I have a question for you. Is
Yes,
Alfie CGI? Because this was the subject of much discussion.
sometimes.
Well, I assume that when he goes flying around in the air, he clearly looks
Yes,
CGI. But I mean, when he's just sitting there or when he's in the backpack, he's a real cat.
he's a real cat. He's actually Matthew Vaughn's cat.
Oh,
And I
a
don't
very well
know
trained
if
cat.
you've heard all these rumors. Because before
Hmm.
the movie came out, there was rumors that the actual author, because there is an actual book Argylle, which I've started reading,
Hmm.
and it says it's written by Ellie Conway. But there
Huh.
were rumors that Taylor Swift wrote it because she has a Scottish fold cat.
Wow, that's the second most ridiculous Taylor Swift theory I've heard today.
Yeah, and apparently Matthew Vaughn has disputed this, but said that it's actually she has been inspired in a way because her his daughter or daughters, I forget if it's one or two daughters, are Taylor Swift fans, and that's why they got the Scottish fold cat, and that's why.
Oh, so it
There.
comes around. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie gets big if those Scottish cats are going to be popular because they're
Oh,
big and they're cute and they're adorable.
yeah, no, they're already popular because of Taylor Swift.
Oh, right, of course. You know that Taylor
Yeah.
Swift's going to make that Travis Kelsey guy really popular. That's what I heard. Though,
Anyway,
actually, okay, wait. I
yeah,
no, no, we're
yeah.
not done. I
Oh,
have more questions about
okay.
the book.
More on the
So
cat.
is no, so is Ellie Conway a real person, or is it
No.
like when the show
Well, so
Castle had books by Richard Castle?
exactly.
It's like that. Okay. Well,
Yes.
how long has the
Yes.
Argyle book been out?
Came out like maybe a month or two ago.
Oh, so it was for the movie.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I see. Oh, that's cute.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean it is well, it's like it's Argyle's origin story so far, so it's interesting, and it
Mm.
is actually good reading. Is it like it reads like a spy novel, so
All right.
I'm entertained so far.
That's all we ask for a spy novel.
Yeah.
Classic cat lady, where she's like alone and sad and drinks wine, and when her mom tells her to find a man, she's like, I don't want to for some reason. That's never actually explained,
Because
but
she
we can
feels like she's
speculate.
doing fine on her own.
Yeah, she don't need no, and she is doing fine on her own. Do you see that
Yeah, I mean
house?
she's a world renowned author, so yeah, who needs a man?
There you go. There's only room for
Anyways,
one man in her life, and that man is Agent Argyle.
exactly. So she sends her mom the manuscript and tells her, and her mother reads it and tells her that the current sort of cliffhanger ending is a cop out and suggests that she'll come down for the weekend, help her out.
So, Christian, this only
Yes.
occurred to me after the movie was long over. But
Okay.
this whole thing of that's not an ending, it's not a cliffhanger, it's a cop out.
Yeah.
That made me wonder if the movie was going to end with a cop out. That's
Interesting.
too
Interesting.
meta for this meta movie.
Well, we'll get to it.
Hmm.
But so instead, she starts writing one more chapter, and she has Argyle sort of in her mind's eye as she's writing. And I enjoyed the as she's writing the words, Henry Cavill starts saying them, and then like as she's like, "Wait, no, this is terrible." Argyle says those things too. It was fun.
Is this the part where he's in Hong Kong that you're referring to?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing, Christian. I didn't feel like that was a bad ending. I didn't feel like it was a cop out
Oh,
ending at
what
all.
the where they said, "Oh, we need to go to London" and all that? No, I didn't. But and there's reasons why the mom thinks it's a cop out, and we'll get to those
Oh,
later.
yeah, the right. The mom has ulterior motives to keep her writing.
Yep, yep,
That's just true. But yeah, no, I
yeah.
I, I was like,
No, it was a
now I
fine
have what
ending,
it
I
takes
think.
to
Yeah,
take down the director at once and for all. I thought that was a good, yeah, that was fine
yeah, no,
ending.
it's fine, it's fine. But well, the mom has a motive for, and we'll say why later.
Right.
So Ellie decides she's gonna take the train up to her parents' place instead of her mom coming up. She brings Alfie in a backpack, which these apparently are real things. For cats to travel in. Taylor Swift does bring around her cat in a backpack similar to this. It does not have an Argyle pattern on it though. Apparently,
Yeah, no, I like the cat backpack, and
Yeah.
I've seen other ones that don't look like that, but yeah, it's very
Mhm.
realistic.
Yeah. On the train, she meets Aiden, who's got like long hair and a beard. He's got a bit unkempt, and he's
So
reading her book, but doesn't realize that she's the author until he gets to the very end and sees her picture on the dust jacket.
yeah, sure he does. Though I gotta say, so this reminded me of in The Spy Who Came In From the Cold, when
Uh huh.
Lecare is like this. The real spy is always the last person you think is the spy, which
Mm-hmm.
is like someone
Yep.
who's like dirty and like schlubby and like you don't want to like be around them. So that's totally
Mm-hmm.
Sam
Yep.
Rockwell here.
Yeah, and so he very casually reveals that he's a spy, and the whole train car is full of spies, and they're coming after her. As they start to attack her, Aiden fends them off, and Ellie starts having hallucinations, seeing Argylle, Henry Cavill,
Right.
in Aiden's place as he's fighting them off.
Mhm.
And they escape out of the back of the train with a parachute.
I mean, I don't know. The fight scene was like fine, I guess.
I thought it
Oh,
was pretty good. I mean, it was entertaining. Like, I like the switching between Sam Rockwell and Henry Cavill. That made it entertaining.
that was neat. There was also a little bit of setup and not a payoff where this guy gives Ellie the old lazy eye, this guy with a beard, and she's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, what's up?" And then we do see him later. I thought for sure he was going to be an assassin.
Yeah, I thought
Turns out
the
he's not.
setup was that they almost get a little flirty, and she says no, the seat's taken. And then as they escape, he sees her again, and with Aiden, he says, "That's your type." That's all the payoff you need for that.
Yeah, I missed that line. I heard someone
Yeah,
call him Romeo, but that was it. I didn't hear that.
yeah,
So I like the premise of someone who writes about spy novels being pulled into a spy
yeah.
story, but I
Uh-huh.
feel obligated to say it's not original. Have you ever seen this movie called Romancing the Stone?
I know of it in that it's basically one of is that Tom Selleck? No,
I think it's Kurt.
no, it's
Um,
I'm thinking of the other
no,
one. No, so I've heard of it as like a Indiana Jones type movie.
well, yeah, it's Indiana Jones, but more of like a romance. And the
Right.
title like
Yeah.
sucks. I don't know who thought of that title. The premise is a woman who writes romance novels gets pulled into. It's more of a classic adventure story than a romance story, but there is romance
Right.
there. There's also I didn't see it though. There's a movie called The Lost City with Sandra
Oh.
Bullock and
Right. Yeah.
Channing
That's right. There
Tatum.
was that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then also sort of Castle, the TV show. A guy who
Yeah.
writes detective novels becomes a detective. So, but I was like, this is good because we haven't seen the spy version of that.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
we get it in the beginning. It doesn't sustain through the whole movie, but we'll get there
Mhm.
when we get.
Ellie wakes up in a cabin where she's given a big info dump. Apparently, the stories that she's been writing have actually happened. I don't think they were happening in real time necessarily, but they've happened. And Ritter,
Yeah,
who is the director of the Division, which is the real life counterpart to what was the actual the in the books they're called the
he,
Directorate,
what? Sorry, what's it called in the
Mm.
movie?
The Division.
Oh, oh yeah, that made me think of the video game, The Division.
Yeah, yeah.
We used to play
But
that together.
yeah, so the Division has also gone rogue, just like the Directorate in her books, and they're also looking for the Silver Bullet Drive, which has all of the intel that would reveal them to the world. And the last place it was known to be in was London.
Just like in the book. So they need
Hmm.
Ellie to figure out, like, well, what's going to happen next in your story?
Hmm.
Remember,
Yep.
or Ellie, think. And she's like, I can't. I don't know.
They go to the Albert Memorial where the meet was supposed to take place. Ellie sort of goes through her process and tries to figure out what the next part would be. They figure out through tracking lists of satellite dishes that the apartment would be on Coburg Street. They narrow down to like three, and they see that one of them is on Coburg Street, as in Prince Albert Saxe Coburg, whose monument they're at.
Yeah, so now it's kind of like National Treasure.
So they check out the apartment, find it's empty, except for a hidden storage under a floorboard, which has a notebook and a boat key. Now, this whole time, Ritter and Division have been watching them and were able to follow the same clues. They send waves of men after them, but they manage to escape using the hacker's escape plan through the roof, off the roof, jumping onto a crash mat, and then take the boat out.
So these action scenes were probably my favorite. And my
Hmm.
favorite part of the whole movie is when someone throws a grenade at Ellie, she throws it at Owen instead
Hmm.
of just away. And then he gets launched into an easy chair by the force of the grenade. So when it's Sam Rockwell, he's like just flailing in the air. But when it's Henry
Yeah.
Cavill, it looks like he's like, I
Just
meant to do that, like a
very
Lance
smoothly
Sterling.
landing in the chair. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So I also wanted to comment. There's a part where Owen, that's his name, right? Owen goes through fighting everybody, and he tells Ellie, "You need
Aiden.
to." Oh, Aiden. Aiden tells Ellie, "You need to crush this guy's head.
Yep.
Basically, kill someone in cold blood." Okay, and I was
Well,
like,
yeah.
"Is this supposed to be funny? Is this supposed to be scary? Like, what am I supposed to be feeling here? What do you think?"
I think it was supposed to play off as funny, but also like in a sort of ridiculous way, as in like he's crazy. Why this is funny?
So this reminded me. Have you ever seen the A-Team movie
Yes.
with Liam Neeson?
Yes.
Okay, do you remember how B.A. Baracus can't kill people? And then at
Right.
the end,
Right.
he learns to kill people, and it's like a sweet, magical moment.
Yep.
And I was like, this is really weird. You don't remember that?
I vaguely recall that, but yeah, I guess so. I don't know.
So, anyway, it just reminded me of that. Call back to
Yeah.
the A-Team movie.
So Ellie and Aiden hide out in a cheap motel, and Ellie is starting to trust Aiden, but she overhears Aiden on the phone saying that he wants to put a bullet in Ellie's head.
Which is like, what?
Bad phrasing.
I mean, this guy's a professional spy. He really ought to know better than that.
Yeah.
I found this part of the movie to be probably the least plausible part of the whole thing. It's like clearly just there for some manufactured drama. Okay.
Well, no, there's actually a good reason because this gets her to call her parents, or at least specifically her mom.
Right. They need the professional spy to do something stupid so that the next part of the plot can happen, which
Yeah.
I don't love.
Anyway, so she calls her mom, who comes to meet her in London, and she arrives at their hotel, and it's revealed that the dad is actually Ritter, head of division, which I thought was an interesting twist. I noticed that, oh, we haven't seen her dad at all. He's always just off screen or something. So I'm like, curious. Wonder who's going to be, and it turns out to be Ritter.
It is a good twist. Ritter is the guy who is the fine born now guy who yells fine born now over and over at his underlings. That's what he's done so far in the movie.
Except not born.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's what find Ellie now if you want to. Yeah, go there.
Okay, yeah, and he's played by what's his face?
Bryan Cranston.
Cranston, yeah. So he, is talking to her. He looks at the hacker's notebook, and as soon as he's looking at it, it's like he's taking photos with his glasses of those, isn't he? Which yes,
he doesn't normally wear glasses, so that's a giveaway.
Or maybe he does when he's Ellie's dad.
Right. They keep mentioning her dad, but they hadn't shown him. I knew there was going to be some kind of reveal. I didn't see that one coming though.
So Aiden comes in and says that these aren't your parents, and her mom holds a gun to Ellie's neck, and Aiden shoots her mom and knocks out her dad.
Right.
And they escape, but end up having to leave the cat behind.
Yeah, that was pretty emotional. He even says, like, okay, like, I'm not going to force you to leave the cat behind, but if you do, you're, like, going to die, basically.
It's on Ellie, because she forgot the cat as they were running out. And I even thought, I was like, wait a minute, what about the cat? As she's, like, running out with him. And she has a choice to either go back or escape to safety.
I was thinking, what about the cat the whole movie?
Falls asleep in the car as they're driving away and wakes up on their way to a French vineyard where she meets the real Alfie, who is a former CIA director or deputy director played by Samuel L. Jackson.
I like the way they showed he's a sports fan when you first meet him because he's got jerseys on the walls of his hideout.
Yeah. And so he says, it's time for you to meet the real Agent Argylle, or R. Kyle, Agent Rachel Kyle, who is Ellie's actual identity.
Our second twist of many twists.
I'll admit I like the way they rolled it out. R. Kyle.
Yeah, you love that like pun stuff.
Yeah.
The line "time for you to meet the real Agent Argylle" was in all the trailers, and I definitely thought Henry Cavill was a real person. I mean, the movie's crazy enough. Like, why not one more twist?
Yeah. Well, so it turns out that all of the adventures that Argylle went on happened to her. It turns out also that Aiden was the real life Wyatt, so he is not, built like John Cena.
and I liked this. I actually
Mhm.
liked it a lot. I thought a lot of this movie was dumb, but I did like how they explained how she had the idea for all her books because they're memories. I thought that
Yep,
was a
yep.
really good and plausible explanation. It did make me wonder why they didn't come after her sooner.
Well, there's a good reason for that.
Mm,
So, Aiden reveals that Rachel was supposed to go to the meet at the statue, but she instead disappeared. Her body was found by Division, and their PsyOps expert, Vogler, brainwashed Rachel into thinking that Ritter and Vogler were her parents, and that she had a skidding accident. And they give her a notebook with details from her missions to encourage her to write the Argylle styles, and for 5 years waited for her to write the next part, which is what they needed. It's where the silver bullet was. So that's why they didn't come after sooner, because
oh,
they
I see.
needed that. And that's why the mom was encouraging her to write the next chapter.
Mm. I do like patient bad guys who can bide their time until
I
it's time to
mean,
strike.
if they can't find the silver bullet, no one else can, so they have no real worry, I assume. So they just need to
Mm.
get it however long it takes.
Yeah, they're protecting themselves.
Yep. Aiden also reveals that what happened to Kira, her getting shot by Lagrange, also happened in real life. And Ellie brings up that she was going to bring her back in another book. Apparently, a fan wrote to her and said a way that could bring her back. Apparently, there's this spot called the vascular corridor where if you shoot them very close to the heart, it'll go and you get it clean straight through, they can survive.
Get it through and through, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so Kira is the only person who doesn't have an analog. She's just herself, I guess.
I think Lagrange too. Ritter and Alfie are both simultaneously decoding the hacker's notebook, find out that the silver bullet is in Arabia, guarded by the keeper of secrets, who's played by Sofia Boutella.
This whole part was so regressive. I don't know if it was supposed to be like on purpose or something, but it was the kind of thing you get from a movie from like the 70s.
This reminded me of like what it's in like John Wick 3. There's something like this too, or is it 2? It's 2. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's right. I think the part where they show her with the veil on, I was like, yikes.
Anyway, so they go to the desert. They're dressed like Argylle and Lagrange from the beginning, and Aiden gets her to actually dance and reveals that they were a couple.
He's like, I was in love with you.
I like Sam Rockwell's character because I like, especially, I'm thinking of in like Iron Man 2, like his characters always like to dance. Or also Charlie's Angels 1, I think. Yeah, his characters played by him always like to dance and everything. So when he's like trying to get her to dance, there's like, okay, this is classic Sam Rockwell.
Yeah, the internet loves Sam Rockwell.
Yeah,
I do like here how he doesn't look like the traditional like leading man like Henry Cavill.
mm-hmm.
Right,
Yeah,
good contrast
yeah.
with him. He's like kind of out of shape too.
Yeah, so Ellie is taken up to meet the Keeper of Secrets, who tests Ellie, and Ellie like is about to stumble, and she looks over to a reflection and sees Argylle again, and basically sees the last hallucination she'll have of him, saying, "You've got it from here on out."
He's like, you don't need me anymore, which was kind of cool.
Yeah. So her memory has mostly returned.
Yeah. Okay. So Christian, I gotta
Yes.
say, I liked the beginning of the movie a lot more.
Okay.
I like the idea of like she's an author of a spy
Uh huh.
book who needs to
Yeah.
use her author skills, kind of like Castle, to
Uh
like figure
huh.
out what happens next. From this point on, my enjoyment plummets because
Hmm.
because it's just another like spy action movie, and she's
Yeah.
almost like a different character now.
I can see where you're coming from. I sort of like the reveal though. It's the change between I don't remember the
Between
character
Samantha
Samantha.
and
What's
something Hollywood,
Charlie?
Charlie Baltimore.
Yes. Yeah. So I
Right.
like the change. I think, and I like seeing sort of the layers of. I was not disappointed because she, up till that point, right here, is still Ellie, and so you see the change over to Rachel, and I like.
Mm,
So I thought that was
yeah,
interesting.
by bluffing out the keeper.
Yep. So she looks at the silver bullet USB, and finds that not only are information on Vogler and Ritter on there, but information on her and her sort of assassinations and secret missions, and that she was seemingly, unlike Argyle, she was a loyal division agent, and she wasn't gonna give Wyatt or slash Aiden the file.
It's like another twist.
Yeah, yeah.
She's our Kyle. She's over for the other team. Blah blah blah. etc.
She goes back to Aiden, and they're about to have a big, conversation about this when they're interrupted by Vogler and other division agents. They sit and have tea and are about to. And Vogler is sort of encouraging her to remember her past and, uh, you know, let them you keep thinking about what that end of the mission was. She gets her last memories back. Remembers that she's the one who actually killed the hacker. When the hacker died, his whole hideout blew up, and she jumped from the window into the water.
Which is how she lost her memory, and it
Yeah.
literally blew up. It's like
Mhm.
something out of Batman.
At that point, it's revealed that the tea is actually drugged. Even Vogler is drugged, and they all pass out and are taken back to the division headquarters.
Yes, by Carlos, who looks like Billy Mays. I just wanted to share that.
So Ellie wakes up in Ritter's office, or Rachel, should we say? I don't know. I'm going to keep calling her Ellie because I just know her as Ellie.
That's fine.
And he gives her a deal that if she reveals where Alfie the person is, he'll give her back Alfie the cat. And she says that she doesn't care about the cat.
Oh, the audience is like, no, she really is
Yeah.
different. See?
Uh-huh. They bring her to Aiden, and yeah, so she's seemingly loyal to Division again, tries to get Aiden to reveal where Alfie is, and when he doesn't, she shoots him in the heart. And she's brought back to the big control panel and tries to remember where Alfie is, and she, narrows it down to via like types of grapes and other things like that, and shows them where Alfie is, but reveals that the whole time she was doing this, she was actually transmitting the silver bullet data to Alfie. Except,
Except
and this
not,
is where
right?
we get sort of like all these sort of climax, pile-ups here.
Yeah, that's right.
So the data needs to be released from the mainframe. So Ellie knocks out Ritter and steals his badge, and then grabs Alfie the cat, who she apologizes to. So he's still in the backpack.
Hmm.
So she goes to the armory to stock up. Aiden is revealed to not be dead because Ellie shot him through the vascular corridor, which was set up earlier.
Yeah, but the movie even like kind of admits that this is stupid. Like, like Aiden said, so you're telling me you shot me through a 2-inch wide with a gun that had like no sights, having never picked up a gun in like 5 years. And she says,
Hmm.
yeah, that's right. And he's like, well, I guess it happened because I'm alive.
I mean, it's hanging a lampshade on it. Oh, we can. That's out there. We can move on.
Yeah, that's basically exactly right.
They meet up in the armory, and I think this is my favorite part of the movie is when they're ending off the waves and waves of division goons with colorful smoke bombs and gun fu dance fighting.
Yeah, so it's very Matthew Vaughn.
It's very Matthew Vaughn. It's very reminiscent. I was reminded of the exploding heads from the first Kingsman movie, and so in just the color palettes.
Yes, that's right. So my girlfriend who I watched this with did not like the color. She's like, too much color. I don't know what I'm
What?
supposed to be feeling. Is it action? Is it dance? I just don't get
Yes.
it.
The answer is yes.
Okay, I hope I didn't misrepresent her opinion. She can write in and tell me if I got it wrong. But put it this way, I feel like if a Bollywood fan thinks her movie is too colorful, something's up.
That is interesting. That is fascinating that you said that, or that she said that rather. But yeah, I enjoyed that, and I think it was very Matthew Vaughn. So which I mean, it's a Matthew Vaughn movie. It's what you go in. I mean, if you know what you're going in for, then yeah, you kind of expect that.
Christian, would you say you're a Matthew Vaughn fanboy?
Not a fanboy, but I realized, except for Stardust, I've seen every one of his movies.
How many movies has he done? A lot?
He's directed, so
Like more or less than 10.
I think it's like
Oh,
7 or
okay.
8 or something like that. Yeah.
All
And
right.
yeah, and we've covered obviously for X-Men First Class on this podcast. He had Layer Cake with Daniel Craig, all the Kingsmans, and one of the first Kick-Ass. The second one he didn't direct, but he wrote and produced. And I think Stardust is the only one that I'm missing, which I should watch. I wanted to watch for a while, I didn't realize that was Matthew Vaughn. So
Yeah,
curious.
people seem to think it's decent. But my other observation about this scene is I've mentioned on Tuesday Night Gaming, my other podcast,
Hmm.
that, and this is not my observation, I saw this online somewhere. It's like when people look back at the movies of this era, they're going to say this was the era when bad guys holding guns would run up to the hero and the hero would just punch them and take their gun. I would like to amend that to say they will do that to a pop song. This movie had a lot of fight scenes to pop songs.
I'm also a Matthew Vaughnism.
Well, not just him. It's in all the
Yeah,
movies.
true, yeah. Which one what was this one set to? Was it I don't
Oh,
recall
I
now,
don't
actually.
remember any of the songs. I could just tell they
Yeah.
were pop songs.
They make their way to the mainframe, but they get caught in this room that's filled with barrels and crude oil ends up getting spilled everywhere. So Ellie asks if all of her memories were implanted. Was she actually good at skating, or was that just, something that Vogler made up? And he's like, no, that was real. You were actually good at skating. So she has an idea to stick knives on the bottom of her boots and turn them into ice skates and manage to take out a bunch of goons with ice skating gunfighting. Well, not first knife fighting and then gunfighting.
So, do you actually like this part? I think by the timbre of your voice, it sounds like you did like it.
I thought it was fun. I was inventive. Like, how often do you see people getting taken off by someone who's doing ice skating moves?
That's true.
It was different. It was inventive. I liked it. Yeah,
I also like a good use of a bayonet. You don't see bayonets very often in movies.
true.
But it is kind of ruined because at the end, she fires all these guns and it doesn't set the crude oil off for some reason.
Yeah,
That
I'll
is
give
never
you that.
explained.
That's Chekhov's gun left on the shelf.
It's just frustrating because the movie is good at setups and payoffs and it's pretty tight. But that was a big like script error, in my opinion.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, fair. That's fair. Because I was just more enamored with the vision of her doing one of those like tight tucks
Right.
in a turn as she's firing the gun. I was like, wow, that. I mean, I have no idea how much of that is CG. I'm sure there's a bunch of stunt work here. But there's parts where Bryce Dallas Howard had to have done some skating. So yeah,
That's right.
and they get to the mainframe, but like this is where I'm saying, okay, yes, I'll give you that. There's like too many. Oh, we got to this part, but wait, there's something else.
Yeah, it's just one more big
Yeah,
spectacle.
so now it's locked with the retinal scanner, so they can't get into it, and only one person has the eyeballs to scan it, and it's Ritter. And he catches up with them with his big shotgun and is about to kill them when Alfie the cat attacks Ritter, scratches his eyes up. Eden was like realizes halfway through, oh wait, the eyes, shoots Ritter. I for a second thought he shot the cat.
Ooh, that would have been a twist. But this movie isn't that dark. I was sure they were going to cut out somebody's eyeball. I guess it's
Yeah,
not that kind of
I,
movie. Actually, what is this movie rated? Is it rated PG
PG
13?
13. Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, that probably would have been a little much. Especially when they could have just held his face up to the
yeah.
scanner. Mhm.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
so
so
it's
now
just
they
one
have to.
more fight, one more confrontation. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So they have to figure out a new plan. So they go topside to reveal that they're actually on a ship in the middle of I don't know where.
Middle of the ocean.
Yeah. So they plug into a satellite directly to bypass the retinal scanner, and they're sending it, and it's progress is happening. And then Vogler broadcasts a music box with like a skater on it that we saw during Ellie's brainwashing.
Yeah, so it's like a River Tam turned into Killing Machine.
Yeah, well, it's
I don't
like
know.
what I've thought of as like a Winter Soldier like
Yeah.
command phrase, and it is like multiple random words too. So she gets Ellie to attack Aiden, and she's about to kill him when someone hits Vogler over the head and smashes the music box. And hey, it's Kira from the beginning.
So you know what I call this, Christian?
What?
Ready? A cop out.
Ah,
It's actually more like a Deus Ex Machina, I think.
no, it's a payoff and setup.
It's a gray area. We can agree to
No,
disagree. Yeah.
no, this is definitely a payoff and setup because first of all, well, it's even a double payoff and setup. Because first of all, you set up, all right, one that Ellie was going to have this happen to Kira in the books because a fan wrote into her to tell us this. So you have one payoff or one setup for there, one setup there, two setups there actually.
Mm,
You have one of the payoffs with all right, they use that to bring Aiden
you're
back.
back.
Your second payoff is who is the fan who wrote in. It's
I
Kira
did
because it
like that.
actually happened to her.
Yes. Okay, that was good. You're right about the fan. I appreciated that they explained who the fan was and how they knew that.
They've managed to finally get the rest of it transmitted to Alfie, and we sort of transitions to instead of Arga or Rachel or slash Ellie and Aiden escaping on a boat, it's now Argyle and Wyatt escaping on a boat from the exploding ship. and transition to Ellie reading the end of Argylle Book 5.
They literally sail off into the sunset. Yeah.
Yep, yep. So she asks if anyone has any questions, and then Henry Cavill in a mullet and a yellow Argyle Argyle book shirt stands and says, "I don't have a question for you, but you may have a question for me." And there's your cliffhanger.
Slash cop out, if you would.
Cop
No,
out.
it's a good cliffhanger. He also says it in like a redneck accent.
Yeah.
I feel obligated to
And
point that
then
out.
mid-credit scene.
Yep. I stayed specifically because I knew you were going to ask about it, and the mid you're going to need to explain it to me, like what
All right.
happened.
So we're in a pub called the King's Man, which is written in the same titles
Right. So obviously it takes place in the same universe.
when the pub also has the logo of the Kingsman on it as well.
Right.
A young Aubrey Argyle asks for a cosmopolitan, but no Cointreau, no vodka, no cranberry, just the twist. The barkeep says, "You must be in a lot of trouble if they sent you to me." Gives him a box. He opens it. There's a gun and a silencer, and he says, "That is a twist." Cut 2. Argyle, Book 1, the movie.
Is coming soon. I guess no
Coming
matter how well
soon.
this movie does.
Yeah. So I think what's implied here is that basically the next movie in the series will be based on Book 1 of Argyle, which is the book that's currently out.
So it takes place in the Kingsman universe, which means there's a shit ton of secret societies and spy societies like running around all on the same
Is there?
planet.
Well, there's the division, there's directorates, or there's division, and there's the
Yeah.
Kingsman, plus the Statesman.
Yeah, and then all the people the Kingsmen fight.
That's true. I mean, that's like any, you know. So what this implies is that this all happens to Henry Cavill, like with mullet, because he has the same haircut as Henry Cavill.
Right.
So it's all happened in real life somehow, maybe, and that the whole movie has been taking place in the same world as Kingsman. Yes.
It's a good explanation that, and it also kind of makes sense that Agent Argylle is a real person if they're memories.
Mhm.
I mean, her memory isn't perfect. You can remember that he exists, even if he has the
Yeah.
wrong job.
So what I'm think is that like some of the I have no idea how this is all going to play out, if we'll ever find out anything more about the Henry Cavill at the end. But I assume that maybe they sort of mixed in her memories, like the missions, with other things from an actual agent who may have been a Kingsman.
Yeah, I can see that.
With that, our movie ends.
Yes. So now it's time for our fact versus fiction. I have a few things.
All right, I have one.
All right, why don't you go first then?
So the vascular corridor that they talk about, that is a major key point, I looked it up. Doesn't seem to exist.
No, it doesn't even exist on the internet except for one mention that's the movie Argylle. Like a
No,
font
I mean,
seller.
there is a thing called a vascular corridor. Let me find it again. One
Oh,
sec.
really? I did some Googling, vascular corridor, shoot, heart, Argylle, and nothing came out.
No, I mean, there is a thing called a vascular corridor, which specifically is at the L5S1 junction,
Oh, that's
with
helpful.
anterior spinal access. Or yeah, so I think it is basically just a corridor within the heart. But as for there being specifically one where if you shoot that's the right point, you and then they can survive. Doesn't seem
Yeah,
to exist. And I hope neither of us are put on too many lists for having that in our internet search history.
I'm sure it's fine. I use DuckDuckGo anyway. That works great.
All right, what do you got?
Okay, so first thing is I have a bullet USB drive that looks like that. I don't have it on me right now, but it looks pretty much like the Silver Bullet, except it's bronze and it says Guns of Icarus on it, which was an old video game that I got a promo
Oh,
for.
I've missed that game.
You remember that
I mean,
game?
it's still around.
And
I'm just playing it. Yeah.
yeah, and then one time I accidentally left it in my backpack, so I had to pull it out and show it to TSA. But they were like, "Wow, what a cool USB drive!" I guess they never
Really?
mistook it for a real bullet at any time. Yeah, really.
I'm just surprised that they let you have it.
Yeah, me too. But it's still around here somewhere.
They almost took away I have a Batarang money clip, and they
Hmm.
almost took it away because they thought I was trying to bring a Batarang, like a bladed weapon, into the airport.
Yes. I went to the airport. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
maybe they were more. Maybe the one you got was more sensitive.
All
Okay,
right.
so the other one is there's a line where she asks Aiden, what do you do for a living? And he says espionage. And it's very easy to remember because it was in all the trailers. But
Right.
literally every movie gets this wrong. So espionage, according to the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language, is the practice of spying or using spies to obtain secret information, especially regarding a government or business.
All
So
right.
Aiden is not espionage. He does operations, which is in the spy museum.
Ah.
It's like because he rescues Ellie and he fights
Mhm.
bad guys. So like James Bond technically is not a spy either. He's an operator.
Mhm.
The movies always get this wrong, and this one
Yeah,
is no
they
exception.
also always call CIA people who work for the CIA agents instead of officers. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. And then finally, how easy is it to light oil on fire actually? Is it true that an errant spark would be enough to kill
I
them
feel
all?
like they covered this. Oh no, I think it was lighter fluid they did on like MythBusters.
I remember in my brain that gas is actually not that easy to blow up.
Oh, maybe it was gas. Yeah.
Yeah, or else gas stations would be exploding like all the time, which they don't. But according to fireproofdepot.com, crude oil is highly flammable and can erupt at any time, causing massive destruction. So, for example, because of the
Really?
massive volume of oil stored, fire is always the most likely cause. All workers are at risk if a minor spark ignites them.
Oof.
So, that seems legit.
All right.
And then finally, I always wanted, and I probably should have done a microdot on this, but I was like,
All
how
right.
exactly does brainwashing work? So I went to howstuffworks.com, How Brainwashing Works by Julia Layton and Aaliyah Hoyt. And an
Mhm.
example they pointed to was American POWs during the Korean War, who
Okay.
were supposedly brainwashed by Korean and Chinese captors. It said at least 21 soldiers refused to come back to the United States when they were set free.
Oh wow.
So there's a series of steps. We're not going to go through all of them. There's 10 steps, which
Yeah.
is assault on identity, guilt, self betrayal, breaking point, leniency, compulsion to confess, channeling of guilt, releasing of guilt, progress and harmony, final confession, and rebirth. So we're only going to talk about the first
Interesting.
one because it's
Oh,
applicable to
okay.
the movie. Is assault on identity.
Mhm.
So it would begin by denying everything that makes the target who they are. For example, you are not a soldier, you are not a man, you are not defending freedom. And they would be told this for days, weeks, or months to the point they become exhausted, confused, and disoriented. And the idea is to break down their beliefs. Many psychologists believe that using the term brainwash to describe what's happening to people that, people use the term like colloquially, like they talk about like QAnon or anti vaxxers that being brainwashed by Fox News. Psychologists believe that this is inaccurate because it's not, the scientific way that I just described. That is all I got
Hmm.
for
That
fact
is
versus fiction.
interesting. Yeah.
They name drop MK Ultra and stuff in the movie,
Oh,
but
all right.
that's too long to get into right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll cover that whenever we end up covering what the man who stared goats.
Mhm.
Alrighty. Shall we move into favorite quotes? I've got two.
So the only one I have is like no spy with a stupid haircut is going to stop me or something like that. Like some reference to Henry Cavill having a stupid haircut, and I agree it is
Right.
kind
The
of
flat
stupid.
top was a choice. All right. So I've got from Wyatt, played by John Cena. You don't answer, you're gonna be the same temperature as my coffee right now, which thanks to you is ice cold.
Very
And
nice.
my other one is from Wyatt, but when he saw Alfie the cat in the backpack, he says, "The cat's supposed to be in a hat, not in a backpack."
Just to be like the Cat in the Hat,
Yeah.
like the book. Very nice.
Mhm.
I probably should have gone on IMDb and look up some, but anyway, now it's time for our ratings on a scale of 1 to 10 martinis. 1 being Avengers 1998 and 10 being even better than Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. How would we rate Argyle?
All right. Let's hear it,
I'm
Zach.
anticipating some arguments. I actually thought it was pretty bad. It's an action movie with kind of mediocre action, a spy movie with mediocre spy stuff, a romance
Uh-huh.
movie, except like there's barely any romance at all. Went on for an hour too long.
Hour
And
too long.
an hour too
Interesting.
long. I was like bored by the time they were throwing the gas around. Or the smoke around, I should say.
All
Like,
right.
yeah,
All
there were
right.
way too many twists. The characters weren't really that engaging, and they didn't stick with the premise. If they had stuck with the premise that she's a writer and not a
Mhm.
spy who gets pulled into a spy world, I think that would have been way better. Instead, it was
Mhm.
kind of like Spy, which we just watched, where you had a cat
Right.
lady who turns into a badass. So maybe I'm not in a good mood right now. I'm going to be harsh. I was going to give it a 2.5 out of 10, but I
Wow.
loved the cat. So the cat gives
Okay.
it 1 point. So it pushes it to 3.5 out of 10.
Fascinating. All right. So, fascinating. I enjoy this movie, and I mean, I had no expectations going in other than okay, I like Matthew Vaughn, um,
Mhm.
and I've looked at so his first movie was Layer Cake, which it's so different than the rest of his movies. It's fascinating. Layer Cake. Have you ever seen Layer Cake?
Sure. I saw it kind of a long time ago, though. I like the part
Okay,
where Miles O'Brien beats up James Bond. And I
he
like at
doesn't,
the end when he says, "If you figured it out, you're almost as clever as me." I like that
and then
part.
he gets shot.
So I don't like that part. I choose to remember
Anyways,
what I choose to remember.
yeah. So it is just, but yeah. After I have never seen Stardust. I don't know how visually it fits into this, but ever since Kick Ass and Kick Ass Forward, it's it's much more in sort of the Kingsman flair vibe, and I enjoy the first Kick Ass. So this for me, I think it is my favorite of his since the first Kingsman. I like The King's Man for its period setting, but it wasn't quite, it wasn't quite what you were expecting from Matthew Vaughn film. That still tonalistically not all the way back to Layer Cake, but King's Man was not, with the colorful action and spectacle. So I enjoyed this a lot. Looking back on what I rated The King's Man, I rated it 8, which is very, very generous of it. I will not go as high as that. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 martinis because I enjoyed it.
Wow.
It's fun, it is if you're if you're able to turn off your brain and just enjoy the spectacle and the fun of it, and yeah, I had a lot of fun with it.
And the cat
I
too.
know that a lot of the critics out there are giving it just a beating.
Yeah, the first hour I was like, "This is pretty good." Like, why do people that keep saying this movie's bad? And then it just kept going and going and going and
I mean,
going.
I will agree that there is at least, one twist too many and,
Mm.
maybe two climaxes too many, which is why it's down to a 7 and a 7.5.
I also wanted to share an observation that the beginning was a screamer. Remember Rob telling us about how Night and Day was a screamer?
No, I don't remember that
Okay,
actually.
so I was talking to Rob about we were doing Night and Day. He said, "Oh, that movie's a screamer." And I said, "What is a screamer?" He said, "It's a movie where you have two characters. One of them's an action hero who does all the action stuff, and then he has a sidekick who screams."
So you're Indiana Jones Willie Scott.
Yeah, that's like the classic example.
I am surprised you have not this is the first time that you mentioned Night and Day this whole time because I thought you were going to mention it a lot.
Well, I mean, you're the Tom Cruise super fan, but yes, it
Yeah,
did
but I
occur
was
to me.
sure that with all the times that she is, kidnapped and taking places against her will, you would be bringing that up because that's what you love to talk about that when you bring up Night and Day.
Yeah, it did make me uncomfortable. That's true. Hmm. I think it's because halfway through the movie she turns into the Terminator. So that's probably a
Okay.
bit of a difference.
Yeah, I mean, so I think it's not doing well in the box office. So I don't know if we'll ever get that sequel or follow up or whatever.
Hmm.
Maybe he'll fold it into his plans for Kingsman 3.
Yeah, he moves in mysterious ways.
Yeah, so I'm waiting to see the end of that trilogy, and I doubt that we'll get any follow up to The King's Man. But hey, if it happens, I'll watch it.
Very nice. He's got some more movies to make. He's to get those numbers up.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us. You can find us on social media at the Spy-Fi Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's right, I said Twitter, not X. And you can find our merch store on Redbubble.com. Until next time, I've been Christian,
I'm Zach.
and we are the Spy-Fi Guys signing off.
Thank you for listening to the Spy-Fi Guys. If you enjoyed our podcast, please be sure to give us a 5-star rating on iTunes. The theme song from this podcast is Mistake the Getaway by Kevin MacLeod from Incompetech.com. Licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0. Films, books, and television shows reviewed by our podcast are the intellectual property of their respective copyright holders, and no infringement is intended.
This is a personal podcast. Any views, statements, or opinions expressed in this podcast are personal and belong solely to the participants. They do not represent those of people, institutions, or organizations that the participants may or may not be associated with in a professional or personal capacity unless explicitly stated. Any views or opinions are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, or individual.
You can find our podcast on social media at The Spy-Fi Guys on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.